Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Gary Reasons. Hey, and thank you for joining me for these Reasons to Believe little series of moments here. I'm going to share with everyone some concepts that I've experienced and learned over my sports and broadcast career. And today I'm going to talk about a subject that's really passionate to me, and that's something about championships. Yeah, how do you win these championships? Well, first of all, championships, well, in the NFL, they're not won on Sundays. They are actually won on Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. That's when you put the work in. And it's the same thing for any business or any team that you're doing. It all comes down to how well you are prepared. So championships are not won the day of the game. You've put so much work into it beforehand. And really, it comes down to what you do as a process. Your process over the outcome, it comes out of what that happens and what you do earlier in your preparation for this. And that preparation can take a lot of form. So when it comes down to, say, sports, there's a practice design. You have to have things lined out and you do things on a consistent basis. So we're used to doing practices to kind of look at things and try to make sure that we're doing things well on the football field. Well, it's the same thing in business and in life. You have to practice these things so that you're proficient at them and you're going to get the outcomes that you desire. We have some tools. Football, we have a chance to look at practice film and tape. So we'll film lots of things in practice and we get instant feedback when we look at that. So if we're putting in a game plan, we're going to get feedback from it from our film study. And businesses can do the same thing. You can align tools to be able to assess what you're doing. You can actually do video. You can actually just have a team look at different documents and sets of information to make sure you're portraying what you're wanting to do about your company. And then you compound all of these habits together. And that's what is a part of a culture, and that comes into the process of really having a designed outcome of what you really want to have. So that championship is going to be built early on in the process. Just give it a tag of championships are built on Tuesday. You'll see what I mean about that. Well, the next concept I want to talk about is preparation and how that turns into performance. So when you have a process of what you're doing and you prepare for what you're trying to achieve, you kind of build yourself a little bit of an inoculation for stress because you're putting a structure together that you're very consistent with, and you turn that into a real kind of a stronghold of what you're trying to achieve. So you inoculate yourself from everything else, and you're going to make that a complete focus. And so that preparation is really, really key. And it all comes down to what we talked about earlier, and that is routines, doing things consistently and persistently. And that's a fun thing to do. And that's all part of preparation, the preparation and the process. And so when you have things go awry, when things are not going smoothly, you've already prepared for them in what's called contingency planning. So you have something that you're going to fall back on, a contingency for these different things that may occur. And it gives you a strength and it gives you a superpower. So you're going to be able to overcome those obstacles. And the last thing I want to share with you it's about consistency in how you prepare and how you do things and how you present. Well, in sports and in football in particular, you get confidence from practice reps. You can't get good at football. You can't get good at sports. You can't get good at most anything without practicing and doing things repetitively and being able to have a comfort level of what you're doing. So in sports, you only get better by going against competition and practicing those repetitions and doing that over and over and over again, so that when you're in a true game environment, you are going to execute just like you had practice, and it's not going to be your first time doing that. And it comes from confidence of being able to do that in practice and in the reps. So we've gone over a couple of concepts here around championships and around preparation. So those were two key fun things for us to talk about today. Thank you for joining, and follow me here with Reasons to Believe. We'll be having a lot more of these little conversations for the days and weeks ahead. Take care, everyone.